Welcome back to Real Talk with Julie Turner. I am so excited to be here right now. I'm always like super excited to be here. You guys know that. But I feel like I need like applause for my special guest today. So before I go any further, I just want to say welcome to the show, Alan.
Thank you very much. I've been looking forward to having a chat with you.
As have I. So I did mention just before the break a little bit about how we met and how I often pick guests for the show. That it's an interesting process, sometimes very simple, sometimes not so much. But it is Man Month. It is Man Month March, and I really wanted to dig into a few of the things that you do, but I would love to start with the Campfire Project, like how it came about and
Mhm.
really where you'd like to go with it.
Okay, well, it came about from having conversations with men in business, and I found that because I'd always ask them, "What's one of the major concerns you have? What are the things that you're having issues or questions about?" And they said, "Well, basically, we're confused." And I said, "Well, confused about what?" And they said, "Well, at home, our job we thought was to go out, bring the money back, pay the mortgage, look after the family, be the provider. But now we're being told that we're not present, we're not there enough. And we can't do both. We can't be in one place making money and then be home with the family the rest at the same time." At the same the same situation at that point was also that in business they didn't know their role anymore because of you talk any way you liked in a male environment, but we now had to watch the way that we speak. We also had to worry about the gender issues. We had to worry about the quotas and things like that. So our focus was taken away from what we're doing. And I realized that men needed a safe place where they could come and give themselves permission to tell their stories in a safe environment. So they could just fully open up and share. And so with that approach, I thought, right, what about the campfire? Because I know that in my past experience, sitting around a campfire, this is where you'd watch the fire, you would meditate, you just relax, and you'd open up, and you could have in-depth conversations. And it's the way things were in tribal times. The men would go out into the men's country, they would sit around the fire, they'd do their business, and they then go back to the family, sit around the fire again. They'd talk to their children, they'd talk to their spouse, and this is where all the connections were made. Sitting, eating, drinking around a safe environment. And I thought, okay, well, and that was all about bringing boys into manhood. At the same time, then, the next phase was helping men to become better men, not becoming the man, but becoming a man. And the whole process is if you're trying to be the man, you're always going to be trying to be in front of everybody. And it's a competition where there's no camaraderie in that. And we see it in
Mhm.
sports, we see it in politics and everything else. But if you're trying to be a man and being the best version of yourself, then the end result is that you want other men around you who are doing the same thing. This is camaraderie. This is how villages were put together. This is how tribes were made. This is how communities were built. And so I thought, right, call it the Campfire Project, and invite men in to do one-on-one chats where they could share their stories. And so in doing that, I started bringing the men in, but I always had women in there from day one, because one thing that people forget about all the time is that why do men want to become better men? Who are the recipients? It's their partners, it's their families, it's their communities. And how do they know they've worked through the things that have been holding them back? They don't until they actually spend time with the partners, their families, the communities, etc.
Thank you
And
for mentioning that. Sorry to cut you off, but there's a couple things that I want to address before we move any further, and that is super important for everyone to remember and to understand. So many people, like I deal with the relationships, as do you. Uh, but when I deal with relationships, so many people are like, I have to go off on a mountaintop and figure my stuff out, and then I'll come back a better person. But the fact is, unless you are interacting with other humans, you have no way to know if you become a better person. It's the interaction that is key. And
that's it.
fascinating to me, just as you were speaking about the campfire, I'm a hypnotherapist. And a lot, like I say, the beauty of hypnosis is that you're in a much more relaxed state that you can
Mm,
actually freely speak your mind. You can freely see what's in your mind. And I had never thought about the campfire being that way, but it is because
it
it's
is.
meditative. That is
Mm,
brilliant. Like you're even more brilliant to me now. So thank you.
thank you. But just on that point, if you've say you've been to university and you've done a degree in whatever subject, how do you know you're any good at it? But not until you
Mm,
go out into the world and you practice that particular modality that you've learnt. And so
right.
in that, so oh, well, your training as a hypnotherapist, how did you know you were any good? Well, you started
Absolutely.
practicing with people, you got experience. And
Yes.
so it was absolutely necessary for the men to be able to have a safe place, because you know that there are a lot of men's groups and the men go back home afterwards. It's like going to a motivational seminar. You come back
Hmm.
home and then you got the so-called real world pulls you back down again because it
Hmm.
tells you that you
Absolutely.
haven't really got it. Well, that's their issue, not yours. But you don't know that until you're able to spend time with people who are able to show you that, yes, you have worked through your issues, that you are there. And by having women in the group from day one, it meant that two things. One, the men had the women then to talk to. Once they realised the women were there, because they're on the membership list, but I knew a lot of people don't look at who else is in the group. And
Right.
then at the same time, for the women to be able to hear how the men can speak when they feel safe to do so. And
Hmm.
so in that process, I thought this is the best way to do it. So I started interviewing men one-on-one on Zoom, both in the gallery view, we can see each other so other people can see those as well. And then after a number of one-on-ones, I brought the men into panel discussions and four of us on screen talking about all sorts of issues. We looked at, pornography, we looked at what is masculinity, toxic masculinity, and all the other issues. And once we started running the panel discussions, that was when the women who were in the group couldn't contain themselves anymore. And they were saying, we've never heard men talk this way before. We love them. We'd love to be able to get into conversations. Is there any, what do we have to do that? I said, put your hands up. That's what I've been waiting for. And so then
Right.
I started interviewing the women one-on-one and then brought them into the panel discussions. Now, in just on 2.5 years, we've had about 240, 245 one-on-one interviews.
Hmm.
We've had, in the panel discussions, we've had about 95 panel discussions as of yesterday morning. And young Scott Carson, who's my co-host in the group, he's run Facebook Lives, of which his panel discussions, about 35 of those. So we've had, I'd say, the best part of well over 350 hours to 400 hours of interviews and discussions. And not once has any man or any woman been rude to anybody else in the group. It's been
Amazing.
absolutely fantastic.
I did, and I thank you so much for graciously inviting me into your group. And I did watch a few of the panel discussions and just kind of check things out. And it's amazing. Like I really love. You're right. It's not, even if people don't agree, it's a
Mm,
safe place
mm,
to say this is why I
mm,
think this. Okay, this is why I think this. And it's all
mm,
of the content that I viewed was very
mm,
very engaging and very comfortable to watch, but yet very interesting at the same time. There was topics. Obviously, I watched certain topics because I was interested in the topics, and I love
that's
to
it.
learn. So I'm super super grateful. I love the whole premise of this. It just immediately I just felt amazing and needed to connect with you on a deeper level. So where do you see this campfire project going? What is your, did you start with an end in mind, or did you just go, this is the next thing I need to start?
Well, my belief has always been the most important thing I'll ever learn is the next thing I learn after I know everything. And I know that there are so many opportunities that come along. People say, oh, you know, an opportunity might come along once in a lifetime. No, they're like buses. They're coming by on the hour. You know,
Absolutely, you have to
all
notice
you've
them.
got to do is have your eyes open to see them.
Yes.
So I always look at, well, what's the next thing? And I find that the interaction for people, as I said, this wasn't just going to be a men's group and it wasn't going to be my tribe. It was going to be a global community. And
Mm.
my belief as a leader is your role is not to always be in charge. Your job is to raise others up so that you can become redundant in what you're doing. And so that way you're no longer in a prison, because if you're indispensable, you can't grow. There's nowhere that you can go from there, and you're really not getting the full potential from the people around you. So I went, okay, My job here is to get out of the driver's seat and into the passenger seat and let others drive the bus. And that's what's been happening. We've got quite a number of people now stepping up and doing one-on-ones, and they'll be doing panel discussions as well. And in that, I can then do other things, because while I'm doing that, more opportunities come forward and I go, right, I can now do this as well. Last weekend, I was invited to have a chat with somebody who'd interviewed me many years ago on radio. She's now running a psychologist who's running a internet radio station, and the panel discussions will be going up there one a day, right through. So we'll be supplying the Campfire project will be on her radio station, digital radio station. So that's going out
Wonderful.
across the internet. And
That's
so
very exciting. I'm glad to hear that.
that was one thing I hadn't thought of before, but that's an opportunity that came along. As I said, keep an open
Mm,
mind to everything. You never know
yes.
what's going to come around the corner. So keep your eyes open. And at the same time, I realized that, not just becoming better at ourselves, because at the end of the day, men being the best they are, the recipients that I said as their wives and their communities. And then
Hmm.
I thought, well, how can we help more of the community? And I realized that in the Campfire Project, we've got some really great leaders, and some of them are running charities. And we've got
Okay.
one which is the Integra Service Dogs, which is the dogs that they train for PTS sufferers.
Mm,
First line people such as the military, the medical staff, etc., the ambulance drivers, and they train those dogs for looking after them when they suffer from PTSD. We've got mentoring men, which is, as I said, helping men to become better men. And we've also got the Destiny Rescue, which are a group that goes undercover into Asia to recover the kids from sex slavery. And so I thought, right, how do I help them further? Then another friend, as I said, opportunities come along like buses. He's put a website together for all the big health clubs and or health organisations and sporting clubs. And it's an online shopping program that allows people to go in through the website, and when they go to eBay, Expedia, about 1,400 different major merchants, pick up extra deals that they're offering only through the website, and then shop online through their individual websites as well. And 2% of everything they spend online comes back to one of the charities that they've chosen.
that's
So
wonderful.
at the same time, they buy what they call an e-card and go to the shops. They can then also save on their individual shopping as well. And I thought this is helping people save money, because with COVID, a lot of people were struggling. And at the same
For sure
time,
they
we're able
are.
to help the charities. And they'll be looking for the next opportunity that comes along.
I was just going to say, of all that, which I definitely, there's a bunch of different things that we could dig into. But the thing that I would love the audience to have heard first and foremost is that opportunities are like buses. They come
Mm,
along all of the time. So many people are like, oh, I missed that opportunity. And it's like, don't fret and think about the opportunity that you may or may not have missed.
mm,
Keep your eyes open, because there will
that's
be
it.
another one. There's always another one.
Yeah.
Now,
You
you
step out in the
did,
road looking at that bus as it's gone past you, and that the next one will run over you.
right, yes. Just make sure you're aware. Please stay
That's
aware.
it.
So, the other thing you said is that we never know, but I feel like that sentence may or may not be as true for you as it is for some people, because I did mention that you were also a facial profiler. Is that what we do?
That's
And
it.
you guys don't know this, but we can see each other because this is on podcast. But right now we're working on Zoom, so we can see each other. So he has probably already profiled me. So now I can get away with nothing. I cannot get away with these crimes anymore. Um, Tell us a little bit about that. Just so you guys know, Alan has promised to come back on the show and really dig into the facial profiling, because I think that that is fascinating, and I could probably listen to you talk about that for hours. But just a little, like, what does that even mean for people that are like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, profiling, working somebody out, but the facial side, as they say, that you've heard that eyes are the windows to the soul, because when you look at the eyes, you can see the emotions in there and you know what's going on inside. At the same time, your facial features are also a history of how you would like to think and process, and therefore that's your personality. There used to be a belief that particular face shapes would be criminal, serial killers and things like that. but they debunked that. It was under the name of phrenology. But
Okay.
they realized that, well, that's talking about character. But if you think about it, if you lift weights, you're going to build muscles in the body. Everything we feel inside, we express outwardly. So you put those two items together, and it means that the way that you think, if you concentrate really deeply, you're going to pull different expressions. And depending on the expression you pull, will determine which of the muscles in your face, the ridges and crevices, it will develop. And so therefore, over time, your face changes in response to your environment. You'll have traits that were passed down from your parents, so the DNA, what they call in the nature traits. And then we have the traits that we develop in response to our environment, which we call nurture, how we choose to respond to things. As I jokingly say to people, up until the age of 25, you have the face your parents gave you. But from 25 to 50, you have the face you give yourself.
Oh, well, I'm definitely past 25. I'm not quite at 50 though. Um, there so much of what you just said. Again, we need to unpack this some other time fully. But for right now, I'm just like as you're talking, like there's the genetic piece, of course,
Mm,
and then there's like environmental and like for myself, I have a very strong jaw because I
mm,
love gum. I'm in love with gum. So I
mm,
actually have built my jaw because I love gum. The
mm.
other thing is, I grew up in a very cold place. It was 6 months of the year, it was really cold. And I can only imagine, I know what it's done to my neck and shoulders. I can only imagine what it's done to my face. But, and this is the question for you, I did a podcast back in the summer that was talking about it was talking about Botox and how Botox can mess with the way that people are perceived.
Mm.
So how much does that play in to what you do?
Well, the good thing about any cosmetic surgery, Botox and things like that, they don't change all of your features. And I'm working with about 68 features in the face. So yes, it will disguise a few things. But when you're talking, I'll know whether you've had Botox, for instance,
Right.
because, if I'm talking to you and there's something you're really concerned about and your face is not showing it, then I know that it's been restricted from doing that. So this is why
Mm-hmm.
it's not just one modality on its own. Your facial features tell me how to read you. Once I've got that, and I can get that from your photographs, your LinkedIn profiles, websites, etc., I then know how to speak to you. And while I'm talking to you, I've then got the feedback of the micro expressions and body language to tell me how accurate I've read you. It also tells me, is there something emotional going on? And when you're talking to me, whether you're telling me the truth. And so it's not about manipulation. If anyone's wondering if this is used for manipulation, no, it's to use it, you use it to build a stronger relationship. The more you can understand the other person, the better relationship you can have with them, which means that you both get what you want. And that's what it's all about. It's not about just getting your own way. You'll get your own way much better when you help other people get their way as well. And so,
Isn't that the truth?
and so that's
So,
why those faces will tell me everything that I need.
okay, that's awesome. I love this. Love, love, love all of the topics that you and I could dig into. As when I took my hypnotherapy course, part of the course that I took specifically helped you understand the way that people, their behavior was part of their personality. And I don't just mean like, obviously, if somebody is, breaking out in anger all the time, obviously that's an issue, but the way that people speak, it make it's a precursor to different things in their personality. And this is like a totally different layer. That person
Mm,
doesn't even need to speak. Partially, if that person's not speaking, you probably already know something about their personality.
mm.
And if they're speaking nonstop, just the same. So is this something that you teach?
Yes, it is. It's something that I would like to see everybody have. One of my targets, because when I started doing this, I pulled a number of modalities together and realized that nobody else worldwide was doing it. The two
Mm,
specialists in the field of facial features and micro expressions aren't doing what the other one's doing. And I thought, what a lost opportunity. So I
right.
put it together, and my target now is to create and train my competition, because we need more people
Perfect.
doing it, but they have to be doing it right. Because if they're not,
Mhm.
their clients suffer, and also the reputation of what we do suffers. It's taken me a
Agreed.
long time to get people to realize this is not phrenology, as I mentioned before, that this is
Mm.
actually based on a science. I've just turned it into an art form by bringing the different modalities together. And so the more people who can do it, the better. And it can be used to read young children all the way through to senior adults. That's a beautiful part of it.
I love that. So all of your links will be in the show notes without question. Now, before we leave this subject, because I kind of want to revisit the campfire for a moment, is there anything that you need to tell me about me? Is there anything you've seen me twice now, and as you said, you've seen my pictures because we found each other via LinkedIn through a friend.
Mm.
So, is there anything that really stands out?
Well, I know that if I was talking to you and you were busy working on something, I would not come over and say to you, Julie, come over and help me over here. I need your help. If you're focused on something, I know that interruptions are going to annoy you. So I'd come over to you and I would say, look, I can see what you're doing. You're really busy and it looks like it's really important, but I really need your help. But instead of asking you to come straight over and help me, I'd say, how much time do you need to get that to where you could leave it and come and help me? Would it be 5, 10 minutes? If you told me 10 minutes, I'm not coming back in 9 or 10. I'm coming back in 11 or 12, simply
Right.
because you will know that I've shortchanged you if I come back earlier. And therefore I've totally disrespected you and told you that I was lying to you before, that what you were doing was, I didn't see it as being important because I'm more important. But then if I said to you at the same time, look, if we really buckle down into my problem here and we get it sorted quickly, you'll be able to get back to yours. Because if I dragged you over, yes, you'd be there physically, but not emotionally. You wouldn't be applied
Right.
mentally to the process. But having done that, I've respected you. I've recognized that what you're doing is important. So I've elevated you in that. I've also respected you and your extra time, but also pointed out that if I want to help you to get back to your work as quickly as possible, and if you help me get mine done quickly, we'll be able to do just that. And I know that you're going to put flair into everything you do. You've got a great, what I call dramatic appreciation, being able to express yourself. But I
I
also
do
know
love
that,
being dramatic.
yeah, and when you're stressed, yes, people will know about it. And so I know that to expect that. And if I don't want you to get stressed out about anything, and I will then be aware of the things around you and I will set the environment up so that you don't get stressed. And I know that
I
once you've made your
love
decision, it's
that.
just get out of the way and let me get it done. Give me the best way to do it, and I'm off onto it.
I love that. And for you guys that are listening right now, Alan did say that he believes everyone should have this knowledge.
Mm.
And with that description, what he just did, first of all, he's like bang on, without question. If anybody that's listening that knows me out there knows not to get in my way. But can you imagine? I know I work with couples all the time. And the biggest thing that I support couples to do is to be able to see each other. I
Mm.
literally can listen to them, have a conversation, and to say, okay, so this is what this person's telling you, this is what this person's telling you. And I've had so many people just burst into tears because it's the first time that they felt they were
Mm.
heard and understood.
Yeah.
And just as you were saying that to me, I felt that emotion, that like somebody sees and
Mm.
understands me. It's so impactful to have that, whatever modality, but it's beautiful. You guys listening out there, Alan and I don't know each other well. We've spent like a bit of time on Zoom in vastly different countries, and that is his talent. I don't perceive I could tell you the same things about yourself. Like I'd need to see you interact, and I need to hear how
Mm.
you speak to other people, and I need all that other information, and then I could do it because I'm good at my job, but I could not do it just by you sitting there. And that is brilliant. So
See, I
thank
don't
you for
replace
that.
anybody in what I do. I compliment everybody because
Right.
in your role, for instance, if you're able to read people more effectively, then what you do, and you've got that on top of it, how much more effective are you in a much faster period of time?
Mm-hmm.
That's, as I
I
say,
love
I
it.
don't have competition. By creating competition as well, I'm creating strategic alliances that I'll have ongoing
Mm.
relationships with them, and I'll be making sure that they stay at the highest possible level.
And there just is no such thing as competition out there. There truly, truly isn't, because no matter what it is that you're doing, even if somebody literally has the exact same education and the exact same background as you, they are a different human and they're
Mm.
going to draw different people in. So
That's
I
it.
say that time and time again. That's why, I teach, and I teach people everything that I
Mm,
do and everything that I know, I don't hold back, because some people are going to excel. I've got a couple students that I've taught that I'm like, I'm going to send people to you. You're
mm.
brilliant. I
That's
love
it.
the way you do whatever the case may be.
Mm.
So thank you for sharing that. And what if they want to get involved with the Campfire Project? Again, your links will be here, but what do they need to know to get involved?
All they need to do, first of all, is go to that link, realize that I'm not concerned about anybody's culture, their gender, their religion, or anything else. There's only one requirement for anybody to come into the Campfire Project, and that is to be ready to treat everybody with respect. As you mentioned before, if you don't agree with somebody, ask the other person, why do you believe that way? Because
Mm,
at the end of the day, as I said, the most important thing I'll ever learn is the next thing I learn after I think I know everything. So if I can listen to somebody, I might get a new view of how to do things. But because I've listened to them, if they are off track themselves and I've shown them that respect and listened to them in a discussion, they can come back on track. Or
mm,
never, you never know, I might learn something new. And that's even more important to me. So that's the main focus. And also, anybody can come in. They don't have to get involved by doing a one-on-one, but it's open to anybody who comes through the door can put their hands up to do a one-on-one chat. When I do it, I don't live record them. They're always recorded and then put out later on, because it gives that person a chance to go, oh, I said a few things in there I really shouldn't have said. I go, okay, fine, I'll hit the delete button. And people will say to me, but haven't I wasted your time? And I go, no, you needed somebody to hear it. You probably had nobody before who would stop and listen. All you had was a mirror or the brick wall. And anybody you did try to talk to put you down. And I'm going to treat you with respect. So at the end of it, you'll have done something you needed to do. And isn't that our role, to help each other? And so I've fulfilled my purpose. And that person, I've had one or two who have done that and then come back very shortly after that and going, no, I'm ready to do another one. I want to put this one out.
I
That's
love it.
brilliant.
Well, Alan, thank you so, so very much for your time today. Now, anybody out there that is interested in one or eight of the things that Alan does, the links are all in the show notes. And I know that every single one of you is going to be going to look at those show notes right after this, because how can you not be intrigued? I know I want to know more and more. And Alan has promised he's going to come back on the show. And hopefully, we will hear him again really, really soon. So, again, Alan, thank you so much for your time today.
Oh, it's been totally my pleasure. Thank you for asking me on.
Absolutely. And thank you guys so much for listening. And I look forward to chatting with you next week. Bye for now.